Prior to the 1980s, agriculture thrived in these southwest Iowa hills and beef was king. Now Audubon County is one of several counties losing its population and prosperity. Although the farm outlook is stark, some farmers are building healthy food systems and farms, while putting the culture back in agriculture and restoring a lost spirit to their communities. These farmers are as American as baseball, motherhood, and apple pie. Yet their message goes against the grain of today's prevailing culture. We'll join them as they explain their view of the fast-paced corporate world, tell how they got involved in sustainable agriculture, describe the products they sell, and discuss the challenges and joys of marketing their products directly to the consumer.
We have a view in this country that food is a McDonald's experience where you get something right away, really fast, that tastes the same whether you're in Washington, D.C. or Houston, Texas or Spokane, Washington. The McDonald's Big Mac is going to be the same wherever you go, and it's going to be really fast. In the direct marketing, we try to help people learn that maybe Mary's pork and our pork is kind of like wine from different vineyards in California, and that when you buy a bottle of wine, it isn't going to always taste the same from every farm in different parts of the country. And so that food becomes more of a experience and a unique product rather than something generic, because there are huge differences.
Not only we want to produce in a certain way, but we want people to enjoy the food in a certain way, which means it does require education, because people have to learn how to cook again. They have to learn differences in food and to appreciate differences in food and to appreciate the making of the meal, which has been lost. So it's not just educating folks about the food, but you're really asking them to change a lot of in some very subtle way, a lot in their life.
You're teaching them not to be generic.
Yeah, we're trying to create or maintain or rediscover the cultural aspect of food, not only the production but the eating. As agriculture has been industrialized, say the poultry industry and now the hog industry, and they say Midwest grain farming is going to be next in line for this industrialization, the expenses are the loss of care for the land, for communities, for society in the larger sense. So these changes in agriculture that we're seeing, this industrialization, has all of these cultural and social ramifications. And it filters into the food chain, of course, as well, in terms of the way the food is produced and the way the food is delivered to people, the way people view food.
The pattern or the thought process today is an industry process where you think about raw materials in, wait so many months, and materials out. I think when we started and when I grew up, it was more of a biological thought, biology process thinking, where you thought about matching animals and the cropland and the pastures and more, well, just plain looking at the whole farm rather than separating out segments and running them in an industry fashion.
Probably it could be summed up in the two different words, agriculture and agribusiness. And it used to be a culture, including those components that Vic has spoken of. Like I look at our neighbors are Mary and Leo Schultes here, and they live a quarter mile away. They have an astounding farm over there. They are wonderful neighbors in all kinds of ways, not only socially, but environmentally, and everything is just, I consider them a treasure. So that's the culture in agriculture, as opposed to living next to a 3,000 head hog confinement, where the owner may live who knows where they don't care about odor, where they don't care about traffic and that kind of thing. So that's the illustration between the culture and the business.
What I see now, and yeah, we're in a worse depression than in the 30s. You know, the input that we have to put into our farm, the cash flow that you have to have, you just can't make it with the prices that they are now.
Yeah, and a lot of what's happening now is more insidious and more deeply seated than what happened in the Depression. That was largely an economic phenomenon that did not was not necessarily culturally based. It did happen perhaps because of greed, but once we recovered from that, we still had our social structure largely in place, and even during the Depression, it strengthened our communities, our social structure. But now, a lot of what's happening now seems more deep-seated and has greater consequences for the future, whether it's how we use our land, soil loss, soil erosion. You don't feel you've had as much culture in the strict sense of the word now as that they had in the Depression.